More enemies for Corey Good.
It's just my opinion.
Hey everybody, how you doing? And welcome to Sway. And as always, I have my trusty Coke, my trusty Smokes. And do not forget to hit the subscribe button with the bell to be notified of every time I post a video. That's right. This is the part 2 of Corey Good Has Foes. Wow. All right, so let me ease in onto this, right? So I waited a couple days, okay? I waited a couple days into really try to absorb everything, okay? As I said in the first video, which was, after the interview with Liz Laurie, I do not feel sorry at all whatsoever for Liz Laurie. And it was confirmed that it was Liz Laurie to send the cease and desist letters to everybody from Stina Maria to Jay Widener to Cliff High, CW Chanter, everybody. I'm just naming a few people. So, and as I said in the first video, now she wants to have her own class, her own whatever kind of class is it, on top of trying to also creating her own legal fund. Okay. Now, as I said before, I feel so bad for her mom because she was dragged into this, but Liz Laurie knew better. Okay, as an attorney, and altogether, she knew better. So I cannot feel sorry for her. I can't. Is it mean? Is it mean? Possibly. I don't know. If it is, oh well. But because I do believe in having compassion and understanding for everybody, and yes, I do have compassion for her as a human being. But I mean, come on, like I said before, if it was just the legal fund, okay, I would have been okay. As I said, right, if number one, she would have apologized to everybody. She didn't have to necessarily name people by name, but if she would have said, I am sorry to everybody that I've hurt, okay, I could have let a lot of other things go here and there. But she has yet to apologize. And also, as I was watching the Leon Kennedy video, the Leon Isaac Kennedy interview, I think it was the first or the second one, Mr. Matthews said that he had to remove some comments because Liz Laurie asked. Well, I invite everybody who's watching my videos, make a comment. Make any comment that supposedly was erased on that video with Liz Laurie. I am not going to erase it. Now, as I always say, these are just my opinions based on the facts that have been presented before me. So, like I said, I can't feel sorry for her. And then, okay, she has not apologized to anyone ever at all. Ever, not once. She had comments removed. The legal fund, okay, you know what? I can understand, but seriously. But seriously, the last thing, she's starting her own classes. So is she's trying to become the female Corey Good? I don't know. You have to decide that for yourself, people. With all of this stuff coming out. Now, there have been 3 other videos. One of them with Adrian Youngblood. And 2 of them with Mr. Leon Isaac Kennedy. Now, I have a lot of compassion and a lot of understanding for those 2 individuals. I do. They basically been with Corey Good since the beginning. of, not since the beginning, since David Wilcock and whatever, but since the beginning of a lot of this. Okay, um, and they're trying to, and even though with the negative things being said, and and what have you, they were trying to give the benefit of the doubt because in their own experiences at the time, they weren't seeing a lot of things. But again, having understanding and compassion and with them, and from what I understand it, as soon as certain things really, really started going off the wire, they disassociated themselves from Mr. Good. They disassociated themselves from Mr. Good. They did everything to make things right with whoever, and things needed to be made right. With the example of Mr. Leon Isaac Kennedy, when it came to the money situation, he did everything that he could to make things right, to make sure that the people got paid. The people who were involved, who did a lot of work, that they got paid. He took it upon himself to do that. Okay? Adrian Youngblood. Again, she heard, and she kept pushing forward. Now she made a comment. How can I explain this? And her naive, her being as naive as she was, and I say it like that, and I say, and in commenting on Leon Isaac Kennedy, to Leon Isaac Kennedy and Adrian Youngblood, I say this with all due respect, with all the respect that you truly deserve, and as human beings, I honor you. When certain things came about with Adrian Youngblood, like with the contract stuff, about how the Anshar didn't want Corey Good to sign a contract, and so when things finally were being done in court or whatever, you have to produce the contract. Well, I don't have one because he doesn't sign contracts. I think that should have been your first sign to start walking away sooner. Again, I say this with all due respect. I think that should have been your first sign to walk away sooner. And I say that because if the Anshar were real. Now here's the funny thing about within these interviews, the guy Matthew, he says we are not we are not talking on the validity of Mr. Good's experiences. Well, I will. Because again, as I've mentioned this many times before, how many people have spoken against Corey Good, his stories, the fact that he's been data mining on the Project Avalon forums, and he's been taking, him and David Wilcock have been taking Ari Stone's dream visions and her skills and what have you, and they've been taking credit. He's been taking credit for everything that other people have done or have said or whatever. So if the Anshar, if the again, now you really have to question with the way Corey Good, the way Corey Good is and what have you, especially you being part of the inner circle. Now you have to really question: are the Anshar real? Are the Blue Avians real? Okay, so if the Anshar are supposed to be these wonderful people from the future that live in the inner earth, if the Anshar are all about light and love and taking this personal responsibility, okay, let me repeat that again. If the Anshar are supposed to be these wonderful human beings from the future, that live in the inner earth, and they are supposed to be about personal responsibility, and and for people to hold themselves accountable, and love and light and all of that. Why would they tell Corey Good not to sign a contract? Because in a contract, on a written contract, you are saying on this contract that by signing this contract, you're going to hold yourself personally responsible to do the right things. So why would the Anshar be against that? Okay? So as soon as the contract thing started, that should have been a red flag for you. And you should have walked away sooner. And who knows, maybe it was a red flag. According to your testimony, I guess it was. But why didn't you walk away? Yes, I get it. Love, light. No, you should have walked away. Now, I totally understand, and I'm very compassionate and understanding on both Adrian Youngblood and Leon Isaac Kennedy, that they were trying to basically give the benefit of the doubt. So that's understandable. Leon Isaac Kennedy even said that, at 72 years old, it comes to a point where it is a sobering moment of pretty much like, shoot. And I'm just paraphrasing and going off the top of my head, where he says, he's paraphrasing, he says, shoot, now I really have to look into people, and what have you. That should have always, and I understand it because, many of us as human beings, we want to give the benefit of the doubt, no matter what. We want to give the benefit of the doubt, no matter what, and we want to try to see the good in everybody. Now, for me, that's sober. Now, he says sometime after the 30s. Well, yeah, I'm 37, and for me, that came in my 20s, where I had a sobering moment of, shoot, I just can't trust anybody. But as I said before, like I said, I have a lot of compassion and understanding for both Adrian Youngblood and Leon Isaac Kennedy, because as soon as things really started going, they separated themselves, they disassociated themselves, and they tried to make right with the wrong that Corey has done. Okay? I can't feel sorry for Liz Laurie because of the fact that she just only recently started working with Corey Good, and how much information was out there about Doxgate, which has been proven to be true, and it was even Matthew said it with his even Matthew and Adrian Youngblood, they said it in that interview, right? That it was proven to be true. I mean, come on. Now, again, out of respect for both Adrian Youngblood and Leon Isaac Kennedy, you know what? The fact that they disassociated themselves and they tried to do right by all the people that have been wronged, I got nothing but respect, a lot of love and honor for them. The only issue that I have a problem with is when Leon Isaac Kennedy, when he said, and again, I'm just gonna paraphrase. He said to Corey Good, that Corey Good needs to take some time to meditate and whatever, because as of right now, he is not qualified to even teach a German Shepherd. And Mr. Kennedy, and I say this with all love, with all due respect to you, sir. And I say this with all due respect to you, sir. James Corey Good was never, ever qualified to be any kind of teacher of the law of one, of love and light, of anything. James Corey Good was never qualified at all whatsoever. It's not that all of a sudden he's strayed away from the path. No, this person, James Corey Good, was never on the path to begin with. That simple. James Corey Good was never on the path. He just happened to be able to fool many into thinking that he was. Another thing that Leon Isaac Kennedy mentioned was the Corey Good. He screwed over. Corey Good screwed over David Wilcock, and David Wilcock was crying. Well, boo freaking who? David Wilcock is another one. I do not feel sorry for him at all whatsoever. He's responsible for bringing Corey Good into the community. David Wilcock is another person who was never ever qualified to be any kind of teacher. Yes, I've said this many times before. He has a lot of knowledge. He does study a lot. But he was never ever qualified or on the path to be any kind of teacher of the law of one or anything. Because David Wilcock has skeletons in his closet as well. He mentions how Corey Good screwed over Jordan Sather. And don't get me wrong, I'm finding it funny, ever since Jordan Sather separated himself from Corey Good, I'm finding it funny how now he's really talking out against Corey Good. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find this. It was on Facebook. It was on Facebook, and where Corey Good mentioned something, and I'll find it real quick. I'm going to display it here. I just have to find it. Okay. Right here, Corey Good posts an article, says Australian astronomers received unexplained signal from vicinity of nearby Earth-like planet. And then here comes Corey Good saying, alien hunting astronomers analyzing mysterious radio signal picked by Parkes Observatory and Western North, whatever that place is. Okay? Now, right there on Facebook, on the same article, Jordan Sather says, any comments on the plethora of former associates and business partners going public and airing their grievances? Quite compelling testimony of theirs alleging fraud and manipulation by Mr. Good. And he posted the link, and this was to the most recent video of Leon Isaac Kennedy. Now on Facebook, it's funny because on Facebook, I'm Facebook friends with Jordan Sather. Now, mind you, I'm not a follower of Jordan Sather at all. I'm not a follower of his. Sorry, I'm not a follower of Jordan Sather, of him. We're not drinking buddies. We're not best friends. Nothing. But I think the fact that he was another one that he disassociated himself from Corey Good. Does that automatically forgive him for his part in Doxgate and his part in any of the other evil things that were done to many people? Hell to the fucking no. That does not forgive him for what he's done, and he's gonna pay for it. His karma's gonna bite him on the ass in more ways than one. He has to make up for all this shit. He has to apologize to all the people that he's hurt. He has to make up for all this shit that he's done. That simple. Is that simple, my friends? Do I necessarily feel sorry for Jordan Sather? No, I don't. I have more compassion for him than I do for Liz Laurie. But no, he needs to do a lot of apologizing to everybody that he's hurt. And he's hurt many, many people. So, with all of this, we, where, how many more testimonies is gonna come out? How many testimonies, right? And as I said before, in the first video, the previous video, I said this person, Matthew, from that channel, I didn't even know who the fuck he was until it was pointed out to me that he's doing these interviews. Stephen Campion actually has his own opinion on him, and I agree with Stephen Campion. I do. I agree with Stephen Campion. It's like, especially the fact that he's giving him this. This guy Matthew has given himself this title of whatever intergalactic blah 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 from the Federation of Planets. Whatever. And someone who's been in Christian ministry for a long time, like myself, and I see these pastors and ministers, whenever they're on Facebook everywhere, they have to be called by their title, and it's and here's the thing, like, right, I remind, so on my channel, I'll remind people that yes, I'm an ordained Christian minister, but there's a difference between why I do it. See, I don't force anybody to call me Reverend Sway. I don't. No. I don't. I don't need to be called Reverend blah 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 to earn respect. I don't need to be my title to be listed or whatever. See, when I mention it, it is to give a background of who I am, and so that way you understand that yes, I do know about all of this bullshit happening in Christianity, because I've seen it myself. And how many other ministers are out there that fucking hate my guts because I call them out on their bullshit? Okay, that is the only reason why I even mention it, so you can get an understanding of my background. But I don't force anybody to call me Reverend so and so. Like, I mean, how many pastors are out there on Facebook? You see, Pastor Juan algo, Juan something, or Reverend Mark something, or Reverend Richard the Fourth, or some other shit like that. I don't need anybody. It's bad enough, when I used to hang out with some Christian ministers, I was like, I'll call them by their first name, and they insist, no, it's Pastor. Or I'm like, that's not your name. Your name is not Pastor. Your name is Richard, or your name is Leon, or whatever. I'm just saying. That's just, Reverend or Pastor is not who you are. It is what you are. You are John, you are Mark, you are, Luis, you are Antonio, whatever name you are Patricia, whatever. When they insist on calling themselves by their title and things like that, see, stuff like that is what irritates me. It's a call for attention of anytime somebody does something, for the most part, when these ministers, hey, Reverend so and so or whatever, it's a call for attention of, hey, look at me, I'm a pastor, yay, show me respect and love and honor. So, but again, and now when I mention me being who I am, it's just to give you a background of, look, I've seen this for myself in person, and I talk against it because why? Because it is wrong. But you see me down the street, if I happen to be in your state or you happen to be in my state and or in your country, my country, whatever, you see me on the street, Sway, what's up? Sway, how are you? Right? How you doing, Sway? Brother, hey, Okay? But I agree with Stephen Campion's point on this whole thing of intergalactic whatever, whatever that Matthew says. I'm not gonna make any real comments on it. I just find, I just gotta say I agree with Stephen Campion on it. I definitely got to look into his background. Not Stephen, but Matthew's. But for now, I leave him alone. I'm gonna leave him alone because he's doing something good. But what are the motives? I don't know. What are his true motives? That's the question that you have to ask. But going back into Leon Isaac Kennedy and Adrian Youngblood, Corey Goode is digging him. He has dug himself a hole so deep. It'll be very hard for him to get out of it. He basically blackballed himself in Hollywood. Because of his bullshit, he blackballed himself in Hollywood. And I don't blame Leon Isaac Kennedy for basically blackballing him, because how many years has Leon Isaac Kennedy, worked hard in his craft? How many years, how much hard work has he put into his career, his livelihood, to have somebody, a no-name nobody like Corey Goode, ruin it for himself? No. So yeah, you know what? I support Leon Isaac Kennedy. And when Adrian Youngblood talk about how Corey Goode was crying because he was blackballed from the lecture circuit, well, good. Now, I get it that, when she was trying to put some things together, she talked to David because David really wasn't the key evil force behind Corey's bullshit, apparently. But she didn't need David Wilcock. This is just my opinion. At the time, she felt like she needed David Wilcock because of whatever. But in my opinion, she did not need David Wilcock at all whatsoever. And because of that, David brought Corey along. Now, here's an interesting thing that Leon Isaac Kennedy mentions is that David Wilcock was crying because Corey Goode screwed him over financially. And he was like, and I'm paraphrasing again, of I brought him, I'm the reason why Corey Goode is famous. I'm the reason why Corey Goode has had all these great deals with Gaia and this and that. I'm the one that vetted Corey Goode when people said he was a phony. Well, Mr. Wilcock, I cannot feel sorry for you, sir. I can't. Number one, you should not be vetting anybody because you are not qualified yourself. If you do not know how to to separate the bullshit from the people who genuinely feel that they've had an experience, you are not qualified. The fact, and then Corey Good denies that you raised $150,000 and only puts it down to 90. Dude, you put yourself in this mess. You put yourself in this mess. You went along for the ride. You were another key instrument in a lot of the evil things that were being done. So no, I cannot feel sorry for you. I can't. Is there more to the story? Possibly. But until we get that, I cannot feel sorry for you. You got screwed over. You know, you created a monster, and now you're crying because the monster that you've created has gone rogue. You are Frankenstein, and Corey Good is Frankenstein's monster who is now going rogue and doing all this stupid shit. Mr. Wilcock. So I cannot feel sorry for you at all whatsoever. And then also going by Leon Isaac Kennedy's testimony of how Corey Good, he fucked over Richard financially. He fucked over everybody. For crying out loud, Richard had, if it wasn't for Leon Isaac Kennedy doing the right thing, making sure that the people got paid what they deserved to be paid, Richard, his ex-wife, and his daughter, I believe it was his daughter, yeah, they would have been kicked out. Because there was two households that Richard was taking care of. His own and his ex-wife with his daughter. And all of them would have been evicted. And if come on. Now the question is for the Corey Good followers, when are you going to learn that this guy is a shady, phony, lying individual? He is not qualified, never has been qualified, never will be qualified to be a teacher of the law of one, of ascension, of anything. And like I said, I have a lot of compassion and understanding for Adrian Youngblood and Leon Isaac Kennedy. Both of them, I've heard from, I know that they have apologized to whoever they had to apologize. And they try to do right by everyone that Corey Good did wrong. Alright, y'all, that's another short video for now. But you know what? I'm gonna go along for the ride, and I'll keep giving you my opinion based on every interview that I watch. And until next time, just remember, I love you all. Peace.
It's just my opinion.